Okay, he's back in South Africa for his 2015 Passover Convention tour. Bishop, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Indeed.
Thank you so much. Let's talk about your return to South Africa and what your tour this time around will be focusing on.
Well, it's Easter time, so we have to focus on the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. It's an interesting dynamic because I will focus primarily on Gethsemane, the sufferings in Gethsemane that all of us actually have. I think it's a representation of the humanity that goes with Jesus Christ and bridging to all of us. It's no different than the struggles we have for whatever goals we're seeking, whatever we attempt to do and understand we should do. It just doesn't happen easily, because you can have many goals and have many interruptions, and you have to overcome those goals in order to achieve what it is you have to achieve. And I think being in the will of God was difficult for Jesus. It was more difficult than it was dealing with Satan, because if you're dealing with the devil, you have God to help you. If you're dealing with God, who do you have to help you? And so consequently, I have to deal with a little of that. And then, of course, I have to deal with the cross, and each one of us has a cross. Because oftentimes the victim is the victor. We have to go through certain things in life that prepares us for resurrection. And that consequently you have many dreams and certain things about each one of us has to die for the great part of us to live. And those are the concepts. And the reason I say it like that, and it's not just going up and talking about a story, because I believe that theology and psychology has to be in dichotomy. What good is it? And that goes for every religion. What good is it if I'm listening to a particular religion and it doesn't change my mind? I'm listening to Jesus Christ or the Muslims and Muhammad or whatever people listen to in the spirit or in a religious world, because you can be religious and not be spiritual. And the real issue here is, how does it affect me every day? How does it help me?
That practical application is crucial.
It's crucial. It's the only real thing.
But speaking of that, you spoke about iconoclastic disposition that people have towards their leaders when you were last here. And I think it's quite significant because it speaks about leadership, and particularly on the continent as well. We've just seen Nigerian elections. And people were surprised at the smooth transfer, that there was no civil war that erupted in there. It was refreshing. And we, of course, in South Africa, in our democracy, have experienced that. But on the continent, it is quite a phenomenon to see such, and nobody contesting the elections, etc. But speak to us about that concept of iconoclastic disposition. What does that mean?
You see, iconoclastic, in my estimation, is when people have an overview and an exaggerated view of the leader. And it takes him out of the normal human warrior. All of us are human warriors. It doesn't matter what my position is. I'm still a man. And I don't want you to see my position only and not see my manhood. But one of the things that makes that happen is that you go to church on Sunday or you go to any meeting and you see a person who's up. You don't know him like his children know him. So you only know him by his giftedness. You don't know his character. And oftentimes, our gifts put us in places where our character can't keep us because we're still developing character. You're on a show, everybody sees you, you become an icon. You're very significant. But there are very few people who interact with you. Of the millions of people who see you, maybe 25 to 100 interact with you. So they can deal with the side of you that no one else sees. So I am saying, let's reduce the iconoclastic disposition. That's why I took on the show. The only reason I went to Preachers of LA is, you know.
And we saw your we say, nakedness, your vulnerability, the dynamics of the relationships that you had. And oh my gosh, pastors also argue, and pastors also get hurt or upset, etc.
Yes. And pastors get depressed.
And
and pastors have difficulty
and
sometimes.
have admirers as well, that they're not marrying.
Without I like that dig you got me that time.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
well, you know, the issue with Loretta and I, we've been friends for years and years and years.
I'm Team Loretta, just by the way.
I do understand. But when I did say to Loretta, marry me, she said I was too old. So, well, I'm still the same distance in age now as I was then. Yeah. So it's on her, really, because I'm not going to ask again.
But it's important to see that human aspect of it, because we do end up, worshiping the gift as opposed to the giver.
That's the whole point. The whole point is that I should never cloud your view of Christ. I should never be in the way. John said, I must decrease, he must increase. And that's the whole concept, that no human being is flawless. I say it like this to people many times. They say, to whom much is given, much is required. But the truth is, to whom much is given, all is not required.
Oh my goodness. Okay, now I feel like we should be standing up, and can I get an amen and clap your hands?
Amen.
So where are you going to be as quickly as briefly as
I'm going to be at Sandon Assemblies of God Church, and it's going to be down Rivonia Road. I got to get straight. We're going to be down Rivonia Road in Santon, next to the N1 highway. And tonight we're going to be there at 18:30 to 20:30 hours. And Good Friday morning, of course, 8:30 hours to 11:40 hours. And then we're coming back at 1400 to 1700. And then I have to get home for Easter Sunday morning, where I've got 3 services of 5,000 people.
It doesn't stop. Okay, but I'm sure you'll give us the information and the update via Twitter and other social media platforms.
Indeed.
So if anybody missed that one out, you can sure follow him on Twitter and various other social media platforms for that information. Now, when we come back